no more than 3 hours before the sun goes down, and I gotta get a shelter set up. All right. Gotta watch my step. Trying to find a spot. I think I saw something over here that might work. Ooh, yeah. Dude, you gotta look at this. This will definitely work. If you want to find yourself a nice flat area. You got the beautiful brook right there.
Thank you guys for watching Vital Survival. We're in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. It's absolutely my favorite place to be. And I'm going to build a nice tarp shelter to keep me warm, keep me dry, and hopefully keep all these mosquitoes from biting me all night. I got about 2.5 hours left of light, so I can't really mess around. I just gotta go ahead and get the materials that I need to build a quick tarp shelter, then get a fire going. I hope the river isn't too loud in the background. So I don't have a big tarp. Let me just show you. We gotta make a shelter out of this guy. This may be small, but it'll actually work out, because if you're just one person making a shelter, you actually want to make it small to retain all the heat. So that's what we're going to do. So because of time limits, I want to get something up fast, so I'm thinking A-frame is probably the way to go. So I needed to find myself a nice wide branch. Let me even this up a little bit. I made an episode on how to build an A-frame shelter, so it's pretty much the same thing, except we're using a tarp. So I found myself a nice Y branch. I got a ridge pole that I got to clean up, and then I got to get one more piece. A thing you want to look out for when you're setting up a shelter is you need to look up and make sure that there's no dead wood, also known as widowmakers, above you. And this looks pretty alright. I'm going to build a little raised bed to get myself off the ground. But I'm going to set this structure up first, at least these parts. So I've got my Y right here. Clean this up best I could. Got to make sure that it's big enough for me, whether I sleep this way or this way. Probably this way. You can tell this is sturdy because I'm cutting a saw and this thing's not collapsing. So that's good. I just wanted to note that anytime that I go into the wilderness up in the mountains where it's bare country, I make sure that I bring a foghorn because that can help scare them away. I wish that I had some mace, but I don't. But I have this, and I have some weapons to help me psychologically. However, if you practice the right safety tips, it should be fun. Oh. I think I just got a mosquito on my nose. I can work on this more after I finish the tarp, but you have to really prioritize what you need to do before the sun goes down. I have a lot of this stuff close by, so I can just keep on gathering as many as I need. But I want to get this tarp up. This is as basic as it gets, folks. Tie some paracord to the ends. Mosquitoes are getting me, man. I gotta get a fire. I'm up off the ground. I'd be dry. I still have to make some improvements and do some stuff to the shelter. I don't like this opening here, so I'm going to put some debris and just kind of make this a little tighter, add some branches, put them down on the tarp so that way if it's windy we won't have a problem. But this is something just quick that you can make. It's obviously not elaborate, and I didn't sit there all mathematically trying to make sure that everything looked even, because of course the sun is going down, but I at least have something going on, and now I got to get to a fire after I just finish up a couple of these things. It doesn't look like the Mount Washington Hotel, but it's nice. I added in a little more insulation to block the wind, give me more heat. I found the jackpot. There's a birch tree right over there, paper thin. Nice and dry. I want to pulverize this stuff here. Even when it looks like it's easy, that don't mean that it's obviously gonna work, man. One thing I'm glad of is at least the sun isn't down yet, but it's getting there. So I'm glad I prioritized and did the basics with the shelter. You want to start off really small. You don't want to suffocate it. But the beautiful thing about birch bark is it burns for a while. So always make sure you got your little guys prepared to add fuel to the fire, because the worst thing is getting a fire going and then it going out. I don't have to worry about any food the first night. I got my shelter, I got my fire, and I'm going to boil some water and make a little bit of spruce pine needle tea. I want to take this with running water. Be very careful. There we go. I got to be careful with the rocks around here, because if they were close to the river and they were very wet underwater for a while, these could actually explode. So the rocks that I do gather, if I find them, I need them to be as far away from the river as possible. I made a video in the past talking about the benefits of pine needle tea and also cambium. So right now, instead of just hydrating ourselves and having water, we are adding in these pine needles, and it is packed with vitamin C and other good nutrients. I'm glad I was able to get all that done before the sun went down, because that'll add a lot of stress if you try to do this in the dark. No way, bummer. So I'm just going to chill, get myself organized and ready for the sun to come down. I got the tea boiling, and I brought a little bit of beef jerky, because you can't go camping without beef jerky. My main thing is I have a shelter set up, I have fire, and I have water. Beef jerky. My tea should be ready soon. I got my sleeping bag. I got everything ready. I'm just going to gather a little bit more for the outside of the shelter, then I will be ready for the night. I'm going to make sure but I have a huge fire, and as long as I keep my fire going, I'll be totally okay. But I'm ready to improvise in case it rains. I'll have to end up making some type of door. I just ran out of time and didn't have time to sit here and make a door. But I got my basics and I'm happy. The tea is done. Not bad.
I added a little extra just to add some insulation and to catch a little bit of rain. Sun's going down and we are toasty. I gathered a bunch of wood, however, that ain't nothing. That'll give me maybe a couple hours. So while I can still see a little bit, I need to collect more wood.
The shelter is very warm. It's actually pretty cozy. You got to be very aware because it's bear country. So a big fire is good, and it's good to be loud. You know, you don't want to be quiet. You want to be known. You want the bear to know that you're here. So it's okay to make a little bit of noise. There's nobody around. I'm not going to bother anybody. Woo! It's funny. You spend so much time getting your shelter ready and getting everything situated before the sun goes down that you don't even have much time to think. You're just focusing on your task. I want some really good coals before I pass out. I'll obviously have to wake up at some point to put some more wood on the fire, but I can give myself a good head start.
Look at this doggy. Nobody told her to go in there. She just decided to go in. And she approves of that shelter. It's nice and warm. Look at her all cozy sleeping there. I had to bring my dog. She's an old dog. She's a good dog. And she's my best friend. Now there's pros and cons to bringing a dog when you go backcountry camping. Of course you're not as lonely. You got a little companion. And they'll hear something approaching your camp way before you do. That's a good thing. However, if you got a yappy dog, one of those annoying dogs that won't shut up if they see something and they start to get aggressive, for instance a bear, then that could actually aggravate the bear and make the bear potentially do something erratic or out of the ordinary. Luckily, Dee Dee the doggy, she's a very good dog. She listens. There's no problems with that. So I see it as a big plus to have little Dee Dee here.
I'm completely toasty, extremely warm. My little old dog is sleeping behind me. And as long as I keep this fire going and put some nice big logs on it before I go to sleep and periodically wake up, keep the fire going, I'll be completely comfortable. I couldn't ask for a better night. I brought warm clothing, but I don't have to wear any of it yet. I am friggin' so warm. I found a couple big rocks that were far away from the brook, so they're not dangerous to heat up. And what I'm going to do before I go to sleep is I'm going to take these rocks and I'm going to actually bring them close to me, so that way I can just get a little extra warm. These things, oh, they're so warm, it'll be fantastic. I've always longed to come out into the mountains. Since I was 7 years old, I was always intrigued by wilderness survival. I remember it was Thanksgiving night, and I was 7, and I decided to go downstairs at my godmother slash aunt's house, and I wanted to watch a movie, and they had all these cool tapes. I remember they had the recording of Team USA beating Russia. Anyways, there was a movie called Alive, and I just decided to put it on. I think my cousin Bosco and my brother Cliff were there, potentially, and I watched it, and yeah, the movie's about, there's a part of it that's about cannibals, but that's not what intrigued me. It was the entire story of the resiliency that they had, how they had to survive, the way that they crossed mountain range after mountain range with barely any equipment, and they were, oh, this fight is crazy, and they were able to survive. Anyways, so I had always been intrigued by wilderness survival. It wasn't just that. And in my late 20s, I started actually applying these things, all this knowledge, all this stuff that I had learned over time. I mean, I really love it. It brings me so much joy. It's hard to describe. I can't explain it fully why this fills my heart with joy. I love it. I mean, I'm so happy right now. A lot of people, if you ask them, hey, you want to go out and just hang out by yourself deep in the wilderness in bear country and build a little tarp shelter and stay overnight? You want to go? Most people would not be down for this, but for me, this is complete heaven, you know? It's kind of like the opposite of my life. I got a typical job like most people do, and I'm decent at it, and it's a good job. You know, I take care of people with mental disabilities. So there's a lot of parts of my job that are fulfilling. You know, but it's not my true passion. My true passion is this. You know, my ultimate dream would be to one day be able to teach wilderness survival. I'm working on purchasing my own land, but it's difficult. Up in New England, the prices are so expensive, but that's what I want to do. I'd love to purchase my own land, have my own animals, have a farm, be able to teach wilderness survival, and just do this more and more and more. It fills me with great joy. So, I just gotta level with you. My 30s have been horrible. Started off with my brother Gil dying in a tragic, horrible car accident. Followed shortly by me in my first divorce. That was a good time. Definitely some dark times that I had. But I came out of it. I came out of it and I was a little stronger. But then I went into a second marriage. And lo and behold, 3 years later, they completely crumbled. There just was no way to get anything back that would salvage a marriage. I've made like a lot of mistakes. Like I really messed up and dealt with a lot of pain. My 30s have been horrible, but one constant thing that has brought me joy is the wilderness. It's doing this. And I'm grateful that I get to do it, you know. I don't know why, but it brings me strength. Everybody has those specific things that in here, in the heart, when you do it, you feel like you're truly alive, and that's what you're supposed to do. But we live in a world where we gotta have our normal jobs. We gotta work 40 hours a week and pay our taxes and be like, this stinks. I'm waking up in the morning and I'm totally not happy. I mean, millions of us, we're doing stuff that we're not passionate about. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a positive type of job where you're changing lives, but is it giving you joy in here? And that's a problem that I've had. But anyways, that's a constant that I've had throughout a pretty bad decade, man. I'm 38, and I've been through a lot. I had 2 stepchildren, and I loved them like a father loves their kids. I mean, I really spent a lot of time with them. Put a lot of time into helping them and teaching them and having great memories with them. And it's horrible that things didn't work out with me and their mother. I really wish things could be different, but sometimes in life, you get to a point where you realize that you're a person that you never want to see again. You acted in ways that you never want to act. And sometimes people get hurt in the middle. And I lost my stepkids, and I love them dearly. Two amazing teenage girls that taught me a lot. And I still deal with a lot of pain and a lot of guilt over what happened, but you just have to keep on finding a way to be strong, to move forward, and to hope that, you know, people will remember the positive effect that you had on them as opposed to the negative effect. You know, and speaking of positive effect, this is my passion. You know, it's boring to some, it's scary to some, but this is truly my passion. You ask anybody I know in wilderness survival, Jay Vaz is totally into wilderness survival. I mean, people probably get annoyed how much I talk about it. It's the main subject in my life that I talk about. I am thrilled anytime someone wants to talk about bushcraft or wilderness survival or scenarios. I mean, it really fills me with joy. You know, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I didn't follow my heart many times. But it's about time to follow your heart. It ain't all about money. It's about what you were meant to do. What really makes that heart beat. What gives you joy. So, anyways, it's kind of late. I'm going to go to sleep. And then I'm going to wake up in the morning. I got up, put some more wood on the fire. I'm pretty warm. I'm doing okay. I'm going to go back to sleep.
I'll let the fire burn out, but look at, it's still warm. Look at that thing smoking. Top of the morning to you. It's 5 a.m.
I'm like a 5 a.m. little fire. It is chilly. I'm very glad that I put my fire very close to the shelter. Otherwise, I would have been pretty cold. I didn't sleep terribly well. I got up a bunch of times, but I was able to get sleep. And the most important thing is that my feet and my fingers were not cold. Granted, I'm a little tired, but I'm more happy that I went through the night without freezing the bum off. So I'm gonna get this fire roaring and have just one little canned food that I waited until the morning time to eat, so that way I wouldn't get any unwanted visitors to my site. And it was very quiet last night. Very quiet, just chilly. Pull these rocks over and they kind of warmed me up.
A bit of stew and some nice ashy pine water.
My water's almost boiling. The doggy wants to go play in the water. It is done. So, Thank you guys for watching Boss Survival. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget to have your protein and your carbs in the morning.